We're at Snake Creek Gap, mile 82 of the Georgia Jewel 100, and we're about to meet up with our runner to pace him into the finish for the last 18 miles. It is 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. The race began at noon on Friday. We are 26 hours in. What you're about to witness takes guts. The winner finished in 20 hours. The runners still on the course have hours and hours ahead of them. They're moving strong, they're looking good, they're fighting. That's what you're gonna see today, is fighters, warriors. And we're gonna be following Paul as he finishes his Georgia Jewel 100 miler. Doing well, how are you?
Good.
Oh, good, I like to hear it. 80 miles in. Wow. Guys, I told you were about to witness guts, but I didn't even know how true that was. I can't wait to share with you how Paul finishes, but you're gonna have to watch to the end to find out. I hope you enjoy watching some of his journey as I share my do's and don'ts of pacing an ultra. Let's start with the don'ts. First of all, don't be negative or allow negativity. Don't mention the heat or the cold or the rain unless you have a solution, like suggesting water or ice or layers, gloves, or a rain jacket. And don't be afraid to tell your runner to shut it if they're talking negative. Just don't put up with it. And once, actually while pacing someone else, not Paul, I had them run away from a pack of runners we were with because they were being dominated by someone who was just so negative. They were constantly spewing negativity and foul language, and it was toxic and it was contagious. So what I did was I encouraged my runner to just pick up the pace a little bit, and then after we were separated from that pack, I told them that it was because of that negativity that we had to get away from. So you are going to become chief motivator and counselor and coach, but you can't motivate from a pit of despair. Next, don't be a hindrance. Be ready, physically and mentally, be ready to take on the challenge. So prepare, train, and do your homework. But also, don't be afraid of the challenge. If you're new to ultras, pacing is one of the best ways to learn about the sports. And if you're pacing in the second half of 100 miler, odds are there's going to be more walking than running anyway. In fact, when I ran my 100 miler, my last pacer was my brother-in-law, and he had never run as far as I asked him to run that night. But I knew that from his military training and ruck marches, he was absolutely prepared. And come to find out, he was the perfect person to hike with me through the night. Next, don't be rude. This one really should go without saying, but I guess I just have to because some folks really are just the worst, right? So this rule goes for everyone at the event, but especially aid station workers. They're all volunteers. No one is getting paid out there, and many of them have even invested their own resources to make that aid station special. So be kind. And next, lastly, don't be a mule. This is a term used for carrying someone else's gear. Usually this happens when a fresh pacer offers to carry a runner's pack to lighten their load so they can run easier. I know it sounds generous, but it's just not fair, so don't do it. Often it's even specifically within the rules. Not everyone has a crew or pacer, so just be kind and conscientious to your fellow runners and competitors. Now, for my top tips for pacing success on race day. Are you ready? Number 1, reframe your mindset. Most of your time and attention will probably not be about pace. Therefore, pacer, while correct, is also misleading. Pacing is only part of why you're there. If pacing were your only duty, a good watch could do your job. Instead, you will have many jobs. And most of those jobs will fall under a new title I want you to wear with pride: safety runner. This is really the goal that matters. Finishing certainly is important, and competing is nice, but if they want to win or place or meet some other goal, that's really going to come down to them. You need to prioritize getting your runner home to their family safely. Number 2, nutrition and hydration. This immediately follows the safety runner mindset because it is one and the same. Your runner will not be safe or able to perform to the best of their abilities if they don't properly fuel. Be aware of race conditions. If it's hot or humid, regularly ask your runner to drink and take in electrolytes. Also, make sure they take in calories. Bug them about eating and help them at aid stations. Take their bottles from them, get them refilled while they hopefully take in food, and ask them to make sure they're eating plenty while you're there, and maybe taking some with them while they head back on the trail. Make sure they're getting everything they need at each aid station, helping them with their drop bags if that's the case at that aid station. All of those things that are included with nutrition and hydration, be on top of those things. Number 3, talk to your runner, both before and during. So pre-race, have a planning talk. Let your runner talk through their race strategy. Prod them to think about details in case they haven't, like what's in your drop bag, will you be changing socks or shoes, what foods do you like at aid stations, what's your fueling strategy, what are your A, B, and C goals. Then, during the race, ask questions and don't overlook little things. Like, I like to ask my runner where they prefer me to pace them from. Some prefer their pacer to run behind them, while others prefer them to run ahead. And like it did with Paul, actually, this might change during the race. Be ready to just talk, really, in general, about everything. Sometimes you may not be able to hold a conversation, as your runner will not always be in full control of their faculties. Perhaps they won't be sharp the whole time, so just be ready to carry the conversation. But best case scenario, be ready to converse. Ask them about hobbies and work and family and running history, just everything. Also, keep in mind though that silence is okay. You may be with your runner for 10 hours or more, so 15 minutes of silence is not a bad thing. Do not think that you have to talk the entire time. Number 4, be aware. Particularly, know the course and the rules as well as possible. Your runner, again, may not be in the best mental state at all times, so help them wherever you can. Help them to stay on course as best as possible. Be looking for flagging, trailblazes, course markings all the time. And if you think you've gone off track, do something about it. If you have a GPS track on your phone or a watch, consult that. Maybe you'll need to run ahead to find a flag. You can do that for your runner. Similarly, know the basic rules. I mentioned muling already, so, don't do that. But another big rule is not taking aid outside of aid stations. And this is allowed in some races, definitely, especially looped events, but not all. So do your research. But the consequences are big. Famously, the leader of the Hard Rock 100 in 2018 was disqualified for taking water and ice from his crew outside of an aid station with less than 10 miles to go. And yes, this was ultimately his responsibility to bear, but his crew should have known better. And number 5, last but not least, is pacing. Ultramarathon finishes occur on a bell curve. Most runners and pacers will fall in the middle, but if you find yourself at either extreme, and that's more likely the back end than the front end, you really need to know how to calculate pace on the fly. So doing a little homework beforehand will really help and pay off. Many races will have a pace chart that they provide that has aid stations and mile markers and cutoff times, but you and your runner may need to do some of that math on your own ahead of time. Either way, print this off and keep it with you on the course in a Ziploc bag. Also, be ready to use round divisible numbers to help you estimate quickly, such as 15, 20, and 30-minute mile paces translate to 4, 3, and 2 miles per hour. So say you have to be at the next aid station 6 miles away within 2 hours to avoid cutoffs. Then you know that you have to maintain 20-minute miles. So when your runner asks you, how are we doing? You can say, oh, we just did a 17-minute mile. You're doing great. Keep it up now. Let's run this flat section. Okay, so that's my top 5 tips. But I do want to give you 2 more bonus items. These are a couple of my favorite things that really go above and beyond. One is to bring a treat to the aid station where you meet your runner. This may be a favorite candy or food. To this event, I brought Paul an iced coffee and a vegetarian burrito, and he loved it. Man, he downed that coffee. Second, and this is my favorite, take pictures and photos of your runner throughout the time you're with them. Take lots of photos of the trail, of them, of the 2 of you together. Take photos and videos, and the next day, upload them to your site of choice for sharing, such as Google Photos or Dropbox, and send them to your runner. And you have no idea how meaningful this can be to help capture and record an important journey in their life. In fact, I actually wound up with enough photos of my 100-miler to make a photo book. And I'm telling you, it is a real treasure. Okay, this has gone on long enough. Let me just finish by telling you about Paul. Man, he is awesome. And he did so good. And he gutted it out. In fact, guys, he finished DFL. Okay, that's AKA DFL. That is dead effing last. And it was a thing of beauty. I mean, he literally was out there gutting it out longer than anyone else on the course that day. It was an honor to be a part of his journey. And I just hope that you get to be the same part of someone's journey as you are preparing to pace for your ultramarathon. So good luck to you and your runner. Train, prepare, study, and I know that you're just going to do an amazing job, and so will your runner. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful at all, please do like and subscribe.